Ah, the great outdoors. My favorite form of vacation. But what exactly does camping even mean anymore? For some people, it's a 2-pound ultralight tent. For others, it's a 16-foot camper, or even a 40-foot rolling apartment with satellite TV. But somewhere between those extremes, most of us are just trying to find a way to get outside without feeling miserable or broke. So I decided to take on the challenge of building a hybrid luxury tent that combines the pros of a tent while leaving the cons of an RV behind. I love tent camping. It's simple, it's cheap, and you can do it almost anywhere. But tents have some undeniable problems. You can't lock anything up, you have zero privacy, you're either freezing or you're sweating, you can't stand up, and when bad weather rolls in, best case scenario is you have an awful time hanging out in a cramped tent, but worst case scenario, everything you have gets muddy and wet. On the other side, campers and RVs fix those issues, but they bring their own headaches. They water down the whole camping feeling, in my opinion. They're expensive, the campsites are expensive, the truck to pull them is expensive, and half the time you realize you could have just stayed at a hotel for the same amount of money. We even tried to go the budget-friendly DIY route, turning a 14-foot cargo trailer into a bare-bones camper. It works, but between the $60 to $80 a night campsites, my truck only getting 10 miles per gallon when towing it, and constantly wondering if a tire is about to blow out in the middle of nowhere, it just turned into an expensive hassle. So that leaves me one real question. Is there a way to make camping actually enjoyable without the hassle of towing, the cost of RV parks, or the misery of a normal tent? That question led me to an idea I've wanted to build for a long time, a hybrid luxury tent, something that's more secure than a fabric wall tent while being climate controlled with a real floor you can stand on, big enough for my family, and cozy enough that my wife actually wants to use it, and the whole thing must still fit inside the bed of my truck with the tailgate closed. So today, we're building it, and I'm gonna see if this idea actually works, or if it turns into one of those projects that just sort of sounded great in theory. In order to keep this project as budget-friendly as possible, we went to the big box store and picked up some 2x4s as well as pretty much the cheapest plywood they had to offer. So we're gonna have to get kind of creative. But first things first, we need to rip all of these 2x4s into a bunch of 2x2s that we'll use for the entire frame of our tent. After running these boards to the table saw, the edges became very sharp, so I wanted to round them over. But running all 4 sides of all of these boards through a router would take forever, so I came up with this simple little jig where I tilted the blade of the table saw to 45 degrees, used a couple clamps as guides, and simply ran all these boards back to the table saw. It was fast, it was cheap, and it was effective, and I will probably be using this again in the future because the results were really good. I'm gonna go ahead and let all those dry, and in the meantime, I'm gonna take Owen in his new little truck that his Gigi got him to go get his chicken eggs, because it has turned into his favorite thing to do, to go check on the chickens first thing in the morning, and then pretty much any other time that you'll let him. So, let's see if he wants to go. Hey Owen, do you wanna go see your chickens? Go on, buddy, you wanna go see your chickens? Yeah? Whoa, watch out for the puppies. Yeah. Come on. Oh. Whoa. Tell them to come over here. The chickens! Alright, let's see if we got any eggs, bud. Oh, there's one egg. Oh, 2 eggs. Up there. Look, 2 eggs. I've got to level with you guys. When I was buying this plywood at the store, it is the worst plywood there. It is basically the cheapest sheathing you can buy, and usually one side looks decent, but it's very warped, and the other side is full of knots and has writing all over it. I was really concerned that I wasn't going to be able to make this work, or that it was going to be a pain to use. However, with a little bit of patience, I was able to make this plywood look amazing in the end. So stick around to see what this plywood ends up turning out like, because I was shocked and I saved so much money just being a little bit patient and cleaning this stuff up. Last week I released a video all about my dad's over 40-year-old sawhorse design, and that whole project pushed me to want to finally publish my first ever book, which I did. It's called Bench Lore, Guide to the Classic Sawhorse, which is just a guide showing you how to make my dad's sawhorse, as well as some other images and fun things from the past. However, I have been a big fan of continuous learning for a long time, and when it came to writing and publishing a book, I had no idea what to do. And that's where today's sponsor, Masterclass, really came in and helped out a lot. Masterclass has over 200 different classes across writing, business, science, and more, with plans starting at just $10 a month billed annually. Masterclass is great because you can watch on your own schedule. You can even listen to audio-only versions or download classes so you can watch them offline. Some of my favorite books have been written by Malcolm Gladwell, and to my great surprise, he actually has a class on Masterclass. I went into Malcolm's class looking for tactical advice on how to write and how to title a book, and he had some great information on both of those topics. But the thing that stuck out to me the most and stuck with me was all of his personal anecdotes around these irrational fears that I had to publish my first book. And he really helped me work through a lot of those fears and get to the other side where the book is now published. This holiday season is a great time to try out Masterclass because you can get up to 50% off their annual subscription. All you need to do is head to the link in the description below or scan the QR code here on the screen to let them know I sent you. Learn from the world's best to become your best with Masterclass. You'll notice as I go along on this project, I'm trying to stop and pre-finish things as I go. That way, towards the end of the project, I'm not having to spend a ton of time working on finishing everything all at once. It gives me time to have things dry while I continue to work. The first panels I cut were actually the side walls of the tent, and these panels are going to be the end walls, the gable end where there's a door and a window, and it's also going to be where the roof actually attaches. And so these are really critical that I get them right. And so I make the first one perfect, or as perfect as I can, and I'm just simply going to use it as a template to cut all of the rest. We're at a fun part of the project here because I got to finally stand these boards up for the first time and get an idea of what this thing might look like and the scale of things. And I've drawn out a doorway here that you probably can't see on camera, as well as a window on each side. And just wanted to play around with that and figure out how that needed to be. But I'm pretty sure I'm happy with it at this point. So we're gonna start cutting out the door opening, and the offcut will be the door. So we just have to be really careful cutting it out that we don't damage that piece. These are the last of the wall panels that we need to do. I've run out of my teak oil, so now I'm gonna use some Danish teak sealer. It's a little bit more yellow, but it'll be fine. I'm trying to use up as much random stuff as I have on this project. It is a very hot and muggy day today, but this morning I got up early and I got all of my 2x2 fir lumber cut down to all the sizes that I need to hopefully build this entire thing. And I was able to do it before the sun came over the top of the house and started baking me, which is nice. But this heat's got me a little concerned because Alabama weather, if it holds true like it usually does, that means that it's about to get very cold, because it usually gets kind of cool and feels real nice, and then it blasts you with a heat wave, and you're like, oh man, I guess winter is not coming, and then it's like 30 degrees and never gets warm again. So I think winter is on its way.
Our sidewall panels are nice and dry, so it's time to add them to our frames, which is going to make up the entire assembly of 4 total sidewalls that eventually will all bolt together. Hey, buddy. Uh-oh, you dropped your water. Hey, mister. Hey. Look at what Dada's working on.
I was eager to get these stood up and see what the side of the tent was going to look like now that all 4 of the side walls were done. But I still needed to figure out how exactly I was going to bolt all these together. I ended up going with the simplest method possible, which is just using some standard 1/4-inch carriage bolts. The more challenging part is going to be bolting these sidewalls down to our floor and making sure that all of the holes lined up. So I made myself a little bitty jig to make sure that all the holes were in the same location on all of the panels.
You want to see how cool this could be? Maybe? If Dada's got his thinker on correctly. Yeah. Can you come hold this one for me? That's your side walls. You'll be able to stand up in there. Let him go in there, see. He'll have plenty of room. Like even to the corners. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Dude, you're gonna be able to, this will be a whole house for you. Hey. Hey, mister.
Using that same templates I used on the bottom side of the sidewalls, I could transfer the whole locations to the floor panels and just simply hope for the best that all of these would line up.
All right, I'm gonna try and see if one of these walls will go on. I have a feeling this is gonna be kind of finicky. I might have to waller out these holes, make them a little bit bigger so that they fit easily. But maybe with that template, maybe, just maybe we'll get lucky and this will just go right on. But the idea is that these are our floor panels and then our wall panels mount to those, and you kind of get the point. There we go. That's not too shabby. Dang, look at that. I don't think I could be any happier with that, honestly. I have to get longer carriage bolts for this top. I don't have any long enough right now. I think I need to add a carriage bolt down here at the bottom of the wall too. It's pretty cool, huh, buddy? You're gonna get your first splinter, you know it? Let's see if Dad can go 2 for 2. Have these things line up, that'd be a miracle. It's being a bit more problematic, buddy. There we go. Who's that? That Pops? Say, hey, Pops.
You been shopping today? You been shopping today? I heard you were shopping. Yeah, you were shopping today, what? He's a big help. He's right in the middle of it.
Hey, Owen, can you put your finger down here for me? Help me push this bolt in there. There we go. Look at there. Okay.
Yeah, it's like really pulled up, dude. Get it, it, big boy.
That's funny, I cut the door on the wrong side. I wanted it on the right. Oh well. Walk through there, see if it's better than going in a tent. Crawling. Yeah. Hey, boy. Feet, watch your feet. Good job, buddy. I'm gonna try to put these end panels on. I've put some 2x4s underneath this thing, which is kind of the way it'll be in the end. But I did that so that everything would be flat when I put these end panels on, so they'd match up down here on the bottom. And the best way I've come up with a way to do this is just to use regular screws and screw them in, because it's hard to clamp them to anything. And then we'll replace those screws with bolts. Oh, I just had a mini heart attack. I thought I cut this backwards, but obviously that's not the side panel. That's the door. All right, I'm gonna start making up the roof frames, and it's kind of a moment of truth to see if this whole thing's gonna go together and work. So far, the walls have gone together maybe even better than I expected, so things are looking up. But I'm gonna make this rectangle, set them in place, and just make sure everything's fitting the way it's supposed to. This might end in disaster. Not gonna lie, this is gonna be kind of finicky. Since they're not really done, they don't have all their cross members in it, but I kind of need to do this to know where to put the cross members. No, so far so good. Pretty good, actually.
With these first two roof frames in place, I went ahead and clamped everything down nice and tight so I could get them bolted to the front panels and the side panel walls. That way they wouldn't move while I started working on the second set of roof frames.
I can't hardly stand it anymore. I gotta see if this tarp fits and just see what it's gonna look like. Okay. You wanna come check out your tent? Look at how cool it look, dude. Whoa. Whoa, you go in there? Watch your step. Big step. Oh, oh. Good job, buddy. What do you think? What are you thinking there? Huh? Get in there. I bet you could stand up in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect view height. Look at there. It's perfect for you. You be careful coming out of here. Big step. Good job, buddy.
It's time to add this door, and I'm gonna do it the simplest way I know how, using some of these inexpensive butt hinges and simply screwing them into the face instead of trying to make some sort of fancy jam. Now, eventually I will need to make a seal for this door, but we'll take care of that later.
Well, the concept works, and actually better than I had imagined. And while there's still a handful of small things to get done before this thing can go on its maiden voyage, I've already found some areas that could be improved to make it even better. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing, because next week I'm gonna tackle all those little things as well as getting things buttoned up and try to pack this thing into the truck for the first time so we can head on our first adventure.